welcome to another video. So we're going to talk about the Emperor's Children supposed leaks, why I think they're fake as hell and not real. Let's jump into it. So these popped up on Bolter and Chainsword. Yes, that is still a thing. I haven't been on this forum for well over 15 years. And apparently these have come out of some Discord, 40k Discord server, and are apparently legit. Now, on a quick disclaimer, I think these are completely bogus and not real. And there's a couple of red flags amongst all of it, and I'm going to explain as we get to each one of them. But just in case this is legit, then I've covered it, and we're all happy as Emperor's Children players should be. So, first things first, you've got Fulgrim's stat lines, which apparently has a movement of 16, a 2-up save, a 4-up invulnerable, and 16 wounds. It's pretty standard for a Primarch, especially for a Demon Primarch. I would say it's a little bit low on the wounds count. I would expect him to be in and around at least 18, but it is what it is. Attacks, apparently has 2 profiles. Again, he has 4 swords, so, you know, take that as it is. He has a strike, which is basically 6 attacks, strength 14, minus 3 AP, d6 plus 1, which is a bit basic, and then 12 attacks at strength 8 minus 2 d2 with both was sustained 1. Now the d2 damage straight away, or is that damage 2? I assume that's meant to be damage 2, because if it's d2 that's just weird. Both with sustained hits is a little bit weird. They don't normally put the same weapon rule on both weapons. They normally would put, say, lethal on one, devastating wounds on another. So that's a little bit odd, and also sticks out quite well. And apparently he has 6 extra attacks at 6-1-1. Don't know what that means. Does that mean he gets 6 extra attacks on the charge? That would be a little bit crazy. So, yeah, not too sure. He has a ranged gun at 12 inches, strength 8 minus 2, doing 2 damage. Yeah, okay, it's pretty standard. Although I didn't see a gun on his model, which would be quite interesting if he does actually have one. And he has an ability, his poison one, which is pick a unit, and then he does on a 4+ deals D3 mortal wounds. Now, again, poison doesn't seem to really fit with the whole Fulgrim. Now, he has the Athema blade, which kills people if you say their name into it, but that doesn't really convey into like doing D3 mortal wounds, so not too sure. He has fights first on himself, or -1 to be hit on himself, or exalted 8-bound aura, leadership test to fall back. Now there's a lot of weird vague sort of rules here. It's like, this is how this works, similar to this. If you've seen the rules, as in you've got the rule book in front of you, the codex, then why are they not getting actual wording of the rules, or even better, photos? Especially when we know that it's literally weeks away from coming out. The first red flag straight away, a Blastmaster is 18 inches. The Blastmaster is the heavy weapon of the Noise Marine squad. There is no way it's going to be 18 inches. It used to be 36 inches back. I think it even is currently in the index. So for it to go from 36 down to 18 is a massive nerf, which means that the Sonic Blasters are going to be about 6, which doesn't make any sense when they fit the role of the sort of heavy weapons fire support squad that the Emperor's Children have. So first red flag straight away. Second one is Lucius the Eternal fights first. If he joins, loses fights first if he joins a unit, otherwise he's a good line OP. Now, this is basically mirroring what Nick and Alex said during the preview show. There is no additional information here other than he has fights first. If he joins a unit, he loses it, which is basically what Nick and Alex said. And he can only join the Flawless Blades, potentially, but Lucius should be able to join any unit. Now on to the demons, and this is the next red flag, because this was talked about not by anybody from Games Workshop, but by a big YouTuber. So one detachment gives essentially Dark Pact on the charge, Dark Pact is a mechanic from Codex Chaos Space Marines. So again, I don't think that the Emperor's Children are going to use rules taken from another codex. So that's just weird. Another one has the uppy downy rhinos. I assume that means you can jump in rhinos and jump out of them. Pretty much like how the Eliminators were doing with the Impulsors, which was then heavily nerfed. Demons have one detachment, which is the red flag, to takes 1,000 points of them. Now, if you watch the podcast from Tabletop Tactics, when the Beard, Bard, and Lawrence talk about the Emperor's Children, and they ask Lawrence what he, as an Emperor's Children player, wants to see, and how much of a fan of the Khorne Demonkin he was, he talks about how he would implement the demons being put in, and sort of seeing how this would work. And this is pretty much mirroring everything he said in that video. So again, this is where I think this is where it's come from. Can't take demons other than in the book, only in that one detachment. That's a bit strange, because if it's true for the rest of this, then they have no real anti-tank, and a Greater Demon of Slaanesh would be your anti-tank, along with your very reduced range Noise Marines. The army rule is so weirdly worded that this has to not be correct. So the criteria for the army rule is if a unit advanced this turn, okay, and no more than one Emperor's Children unit that advanced is allowed to end a charge move with the same enemy unit. That's a lot of stipulations on basically run and charge. We already know they can run and charge because Nick and Alex said in the previews show when they were revealed that the army rule for the army is they get to run and charge. So having this weird stipulation of you can only have one unit charge a unit that runs and charges, you can't have multiple, just sounds a little bit crap. And that's like saying that your Blessings of Khorne can only work on one unit if another unit already uses one. It's just overcomplicated, and that's not really what Games Workshop are about when it comes to 40k. And then they also have a back one is charge. You cannot charge the same unit you fell back from. Unless the army rule is essentially you can run and charge and you can also fall back and charge. That makes it a little bit better, but this is just really worded really badly. Flawless Blades have 3 attacks each and they critically wound on a 3+. Cool. Crit wounds on what? Is it anti-infantry? Is it anti-monster? Is it anti-vehicle? Is it anti-imperium? What's the keyword that is giving that crit 3+? And no dev wounds. So that's fine. But the lack of what is causing the critical wound on a 3+ is kind of sort of a eyebrow raising. They have a movement of 8. Well, we already know that because, again, Alex and Nick said this as much in the preview, so that's no real new information. Now, this is the big red flag for all of this, is why I think this is all crap. This book does not have the following. Doesn't have Predators, doesn't have Vindicators, doesn't have Forge Fiends, doesn't have Hellbrutes, and doesn't have Cultists. Now, the biggest one out of all of that straight away is the Forge Fiend. We know that they have the Mauler Fiend, because it's in the army shot photo, painted up in Emperor's Children colours. Now, to turn around and say that it doesn't have the Forge Fiend is really weird, considering that both kits come in the same box. So, why would Games Workshop only give you the rules for one half of that box and not the other half? So, you know, just stupid. Games Workshop would not do that. So, again, this is crazy. Also, this is all of the major anti-tank units that Chaos Space Marines have. Now, we know that they have Helldrakes, but Helldrake are not anti-tank. So, like, where is the anti-tank and the anti-armor coming from if this is true? And finally, Terminators are cracked. They lock to 5-man units. Is Games Workshop really only going to limit you to having 15 of them in your army? Or are they going to want you to buy at least 6 boxes? You know, Games Workshop likes money. So that's simple as that. So there's a lot of issues in these rules. I don't think they are legit. I think this is literally somebody has just come up talking out their arse and regurgitated a lot of what Games Workshop have already said, as well as Lawrence from Tabletop Tactics, and a little bit of wish listing on how they think Fulgrim is probably going to be. Now, we know that the High Elves are on pre-order this weekend, which means Sunday at 6 o'clock, 6:30, I'm fully expecting to see Games Workshop announce the Emperor's Children launch box to go on pre-order next week, which will be the 22nd, which is kind of what I said. It's either going to be the 15th or the 22nd. It'll be a 2-week pre-order, which will take them into March, which then will be a March release for the Emperor's Children. That's kind of fitting with what we kind of can see what's going on with the release schedule, which also means that probably by next week we will start seeing some photographic leaks of the codex and the rules for the actual army. So I'll be highly surprised if we don't get it all confirmed within the next week. This time next week we'll probably know what is exactly in that codex, what units we can and can't take, and what the Noise Marines and the Palatine Blades are actually going to do. And most importantly, you know, how good is Fulgrim going to be? Because if these are legit, then this army looks really good, but we'll see zero play on the tabletop, because that is pretty bad. In a game where you need big guns and not having any, and only really having expensive Space Marines as your army, is going to be really punishing, and Fulgrim can't carry that army. I know Angron kind of does in the World Eaters, but there's a lot of other things in there to support him, like Hellbrutes and Predators and other tanks. So there's going to be a lot of... if people believe this, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people, because it's not true. But obviously, we've also seen the limited edition Codex for the Emperor's Children with some of the artwork and stuff. And we know that that's the first of 4 that they're going to be doing. This is going to be the Summer of Chaos. So we've got the World Eaters, Death Guard, and Thousand Suns coming next. So that'll be kind of interesting. I'm fully expecting to see the the World Eaters sort of reveals probably next month at Adapticon, which will probably be pretty good. I should be interested to see that Juggernaut Cavalry unit. But that's the video. This is complete bollocks, and so just don't read into it. I know Valrak did a video about it and kind of thinks it is legit, but that's because he's a dumbass. But yeah, this isn't. But if it is, then my army sucks. Catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Bye bye.